Hi, everybody. Mondion, Oracle's Most Astral, February 11th, this Sunday at the regular time. The Arcturians and myself will be joining, hopefully, some or many of you for a session, and we'll be concentrating on Ascension and energy activations and stuff. But do bring your questions or pre-submit them through coffee for a donation. And I'm looking forward to it. In this video, we're checking in with the Intergalactic Council to get some insights on how they see human beings and how they perceive reality from their perspective as the unified consciousness of the galaxy Milky Way, our home, and also to gain some insights and understanding about like their 10th dimensional perspective, because try to understand these dimensions as bodies, and that in many ways these higher points of coordination, of awareness, of consciousness that we encounter as we move up the ascension ladder, they represent higher points of mental organization of sections of the universe. Well, what that means, to put it in more accessible terms, is that your idea of who you are, your concept of self, also represents a higher organization of the total system of you. So all those experiences that feed into your body from it coming into this world and to where it is now, and of course also just your sense of yourself, your sense of space, temperature, and of course your sense of vitality, flow, wellness, health in your body. All these things feed into that mental process that is sort of ongoing and that seems to register as a higher level, and that you seem to be able to more willfully concentrate to then reorder and reorganize your existence. So if you want these layers of inner and outer of your body and your understanding and comprehension of things to match, what you do is you begin to turn your attention to it and regulate that. And it is a kind of self-regulating system, as you'll find often if you go to sleep or you dream of something. It'll sort of begin to integrate and try to make these layers correspond with each other in meaningful ways. And notice then to the higher self concept, or this process, this concentration of a awareness that's ongoing and creating your existence. It's absolutely reliant on the lower levels working and functioning and feeding into it in ways that are uh, at least somewhat stable and sustainable. So this means that if there's something wrong in any of the lower layers of organization in the body, it will call itself to attention, and then attention will begin to address itself to begin to figure out or map out that problem in different ways. Um, so obviously in the case of disease, for instance, but notice that your body then also has different layers of organization. So it has the total coherent structure of itself, and that's also a kind of interface that moves the body around and manipulates the world. But then, of course, it also has parts of itself, organs, is specialized. So you have a sense that there are different points of sensation in your body that you can address and connect to and localize, and then they become sort of amplified. And you will find that if you turn your attention to them, things actually begin to happen. Like they can either direct them to it, but they can also begin to tense up or somehow uh, seem to respond to the fact that attention is pointed towards them. So imagine you're a cell in your liver, your kidneys, wherever it doesn't really matter. But you are receiving signals, intentions, broadcasts from that wider point of organization that sort of surrounds your existence and that you're embedded in. So if the mind is constantly broadcasting, oh, we're stressed, or we need to attend to something, or we need to really show up for a longer period of time, uh, the organs, the body, the endocrine system, everything will begin to respond to that and apply itself to accommodating that task and aligning with that vibration. But of course, from the point of view of an individual cell or an individual organ, it doesn't know the full image of what's going on. The full image is being attended to by that higher point of mental organization, awareness, the process of the self reflection. Well, how does this apply to how we are seen by these higher dimensional bodies? It is truly the cosmic body, and as many time periods and cultures independent of each other have come up with this idea of the human uh, body somehow being a map of the cosmos. And if we try to apply this to how then higher dimensional entities may perceive us, then they feel our reality embedded in theirs, and they feel it is necessary for the upkeep of their higher organizational principle, where they're identified with many, many, many more feedback points feeding into their collective idea of the whole. Well, they're sort of dependent on the fact that these are also running somewhat smoothly and being aligned. So, in that sense, they're broadcasting signals that they, for let's say their operation's sake, for the sake of things running in the harmonic ways that are necessary for them to conduct themselves up in the ninth dimension or wherever, well, they're broadcasting signals on a very, very broad spectrum that reaches everything in the lower layers that actually encompass their reality. So that means that down here in our fourth dimensional reality, things are being received and influenced by these layers of invisible vibrations that surround us. And that's much in the same sense that, down in your gut or in this collection of organs, there are moods, sensations, of course, like hormonal qualities that are being broadcast and flushed out through the system in order for them to align with what's being set as the overall agenda for the system. Um, and of course, the independent organs don't have that much control over this process. They seem to be able to somewhat recalcitrantly shut themselves off, so we can, if you have chronic tension or a lot of this stuff that can lodge itself in the body, it can seem as if that's kind of the organic energy systems, their own little chakra cycles, wheels there, that are disconnected from the wider health cycles that are supposed to run in the body. And likening that then to our relationship to the higher dimensions that we're embedded in, so we can also kind of turn away and become shut off and blocked, but our natural, let's say, sense of health, vitality, restoration comes from being connected to these higher vibrations that come through, and that's why we can align with them. But of course, our sense of this vibration is totally and wholly defined by the fact that we are human beings translating it. So we need to do very human being things with this vibration in order to make it accessible to us. And what we usually do, because we're fourth dimensional beings, is that we translate this into symbols, memories, self-concepts. And this is actually where human beings find themselves, at where their attention is lost most of the time, even to a degree where it seems that we can't really operate our bodies without doing it from this symbolic interface that overlaps it. So we translate these concepts into it, and that of course also then tells us that the channel as a kind of single cell uh, determines also how that signal is translated and related into it. And because these are kind of interpersonal energetic spaces, it's also then defined by who receives it, interacts with it, all these strange components of different kinds of attention sort of concentrating themselves in and making this composite, this concentrate, this spirit of the wider vibration that surrounds us. So it really isn't that there are spaceships hovering around with people playing, let's say, like blue men playing advanced ham radios and then hoping that somebody will get the signal. It's more that they've made composites that also have these symbolic composites within them to be able to be translated and reach certain frequencies that adapt to it. And those they're broadcasting out to the universe and the cosmos. And in the case of the Intergalactic Council, it's about this galactic vibration. So again, the Intergalactic Council isn't, a UN where the spaceships land and then they come together and have a jazz concert or whatever. It's and a ballet. It really is to be thought of as the singular organizing aware principle that encompasses all bodies and all awareness in the lower levels of organization that it encompasses and that feeds into it. And those are all the dimensions, all things that exist in the Milky Way below that. So I find that fascinating. And of course, this is a part of my overall exploration of how to make sense of these phenomenon, what's going on, what is it with this channeling practice. Um, so also to share this, and this is something I will probably continue to try to map out. But I've come to sort of the sense that at least entities seem to fall in four overall categories. There are uh, beings, awarenesses that have been in the physical or are in the physical and have been incarnate and have this experience. Then there are natural spirits of sorts. So awareness is energy fields that arise and are concentrated out by what we would consider impersonal phenomenon, planets, landscapes, oceans, either if even other solar systems, what have you. These all seems to generate phenomenons of awareness and sort of uh, personality identity. At least that's how it appears to us. Then there are the celestial beings. That seems to be like that world of light beyond light, like the religious dimensions. Like these higher dimensions that seem to permeate and give rise to everything and yet be apart from it. And then there are like the fantastics, the realm of meditations. And this seems to be, all kinds of beings, elves, deities, um, ghosts to some extent, even the hybrid program, the grace, things that somehow interact primarily with the world of mind. And this doesn't mean that they aren't real, but it's the sense that they somehow don't belong to our physical density and capacity. And and what I'm also kind of arriving at, and it's probably also a sort of ancient intuitive recognition, but that everything, intelligence is really a ubiquitous quality. It's something that resides in reality itself, and that's why we're able to perceive it and register it in the way it sort of bends and mutates, and expresses itself in different life forms and in different organizations of being. So I hope that kind of helped shed some light and introduce some of these understandings of what channeling is about, and what tapping into these energies is about, and how we do it. And then, because it's lovely to channel these energies, let's tap into our intergalactic council layer of awareness and see how that translates into this shared space of ours. So sending you much love out there. Everything is both in tone and in tune. Greetings, dear ones. We from the Intergalactic Council, we greet you, and you as a part of us. We are happy to allow for this interaction, to open up the tuning of your vibration to the galactic center and the galactic heart. Because just as the layer of your awareness that's connected to the heart forms the center of your expression, so the center of this shared palace that we all call home, this marvelous Milky Way galaxy, so too this is expressed in our heart energy, the central energy of this realm. And what we wish to explain you when we say that you are both in tone and in tune is to say that you are always vibrating. You're always emitting at the same time as you are receiving. These receptions are stirring the membrane of you. So if you were to think of the skin of a drum, you can think of this skin of a drum as you as an energy body, you as we perceive you, and as you see yourself between lifetimes. So this skin, this surface layer, this taut layer of reactive tension, it is constantly receiving frequencies, small tremors and stirrings from the outside. And when it is struck, indeed, it emits certain tones and noises, and it has to resonate in accord with the way it is struck. And this is much the way that you relate to reality at large. So this is the way that you are being struck and thereby made to react. And we could say that the tone you give off are these reactions that are made by these stirrings. So the interplay between the world at large and your surface is really what gives off this emission of you, this reality of you. then consider what happens when this drum skin becomes worn in certain spaces, and maybe it ceases to be as evenly taut. It begins to reveal certain cracks in certain spaces. It becomes slightly worn. Now you will find that it does not react in the same way. It does not have say immediate flowing harmonic interaction with the way it is struck. Instead, it is brittle, it threatens to break, and it often emits unfortunate sounds. This can be likened to the way that you, when you are also not aligned to these inflows of inspiration, divine light that is constantly offering itself and trying to find you, moving in through your dreams and other spaces, through portents, omens, impulses, many things, it seeks you out. And when you are not aligned with this, you become as that drum skin, or you become, to switch musical images, you become as an instrument out of tune. So when you are struck by the wider piano player, that is this great universal non-you that seems to be bringing out experiences, reactions, sounds out of you. When you are played in ways where you are out of tune, you will find that you do not respond in harmonic frequency, and so the sweet music of your existence cannot necessarily be played out. So you could think of us as a kind of vibrational tuning forks. Maybe, yes, tuning forks are the image that we are going with, because it is still up to you to then align with that tune and begin to work the instrument. And this can be really hard if you feel like at the same time you are actually giving off a lot of dissonant vibrations. And often, in this example, the musician, the world at large, keeps playing you, even though you are trying to replace the drum skin, even though you are trying to tune the piano. It's hard to find the perfect key then. But know that we also see these dissonances as a part of the wider spectrum of 4D experience. So this means that the overlaps between different parts of resonant reality seem far more removed from each other. You may, to stay in the musical image, think of modernist compositions or other things that are highly advanced in their listening requirements, where for you to be able to discern the harmonic patterns, it often requires you to handle a lot of what seems to be immediately dissonant. And this is often something that's really treasured by people who treasure both the skill and art that goes into musical production and musical appreciation. So that is to say, for us, we do truly appreciate the skill and art that goes into living out experience the way that human beings do, and to also to return to harmonies from these points of disconnection. Essentially for you to trying to play clear tunes with instruments that are, well, at best a little worn, and often downright broken or missing strings, or having parts of them falling off. So that is to say that in your case, sweet human beings, we do sense you as a part of the symphony that we're conducting, and an absolutely vital and necessary part. And so it's quite important for us to try to keep giving off steady conductions that we hope you will look up and listen to, and you will see and then apply to your lives. It's We hope that that is something that you align with, because that also keeps this resonance of harmony going for us. And so us also understand that this is the level of care and concern that we have for you. It is much as you may have for parts of your body. You would never think that parts of your body were something that it would be meaningful or helpful for you to destroy. At least you are aware that if this is an impulse that should not be fed, that is, you immediately identify with the fact that even though you consider something happening in your body as a kind of separate occurrence from the totality of you, you still identify with it, and you are still aware that this part of the whole is vital for the whole to function as a whole. So there are no parts that necessarily need to be discarded or that we dismiss as such. You are not abject from us, you are not different from us. We have your vibration within us. And so when we speak of you ascending into a membership in our council, it is the sense that your vibration is able to then aware and consciously be able to work with our enemy, with our energy, and to be able to transmit more aware, more concertedly, more in an intentional, directed, and willful kind of way. You are able to transmit these emissions of sound, this resonance, this tone that you give off to our tuning. Then you may also appreciate that from the timescales we operate on, it can sometimes be a little difficult to really understand the dilemma of the single human cell. That is, we do appreciate that you have individual awareness, and it's very interesting for us to perceive. That is a unique phenomenon that we wish to register, appreciate, catalog as a system of overall awareness. But much as you perhaps do not attach that much sentiment to singular skin cells being replaced with others, and those cells flying off, having played their part, so to us it can be a little hard to sometimes identify with the dilemma of the limited human cell, because it's a type of song, a tone that you give off that is, let us say, deliberately the dissonant tone that you are producing, that makes you quite unique in where you are at your stage of perception of separation and integration with the entirety of the universe. So in that way, it's many of these small chirps of who am I, and this is my experience, and this is very significant, that really brings the unique flavor of the gathered human concert to it. But to us, we tend to see this as more embedded in the whole. And so if we sometimes come across as a little, let us say, universal laissez-faire, not necessarily sweating the little stuff too much, it is because the little stuff to us really doesn't exist as anything but embedded in this wider, wonderful unity that we all share and that we all feed into and live off. So with that, we transmit our deepest, serene love from the galactic heart, from the center of awareness of this our beautiful home galaxy, the Milky Way. We transmit this love to you. We bless you and we thank you for being right where you are at this moment. Our love, sweet humans. Farewell. That felt lovely. Much love, guys.